Look, Neo, you have to make up your mind to either accept what I am about to tell you, or reject it. But remember, all I am offering you is the truth, nothing more. But unfortunately, no one can be told what the left-right paradigm is. You have to see it for yourself. I am trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You are the one who has to walk through it. Politics is a system, Neo. The system is our enemy. But you have to understand something. Most of the people in the left-right paradigm are not ready to be unplugged. And most of them are so injured, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they fight to protect the very system that enslaves them. You have to let it all go. Fear, doubt, and your cognitive dissonance. Free your mind. The left-right paradigm is all around us. Even now, on this very live stream. You can see it when you turn on your television. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. The truth is that all your whole life you have been told you were free. But like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Into a prison for your mind that you cannot see or touch. But this is your last chance. After this there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, and the story ends. You wake up on a stream pushing the deception of politics. And believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, and I will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Edward Bernays. His uncle was Sigmund Freud. This is the first step in recognizing that you have all been manipulated and programmed. He literally wrote the book on propaganda. Edward Bernays also is considered the father of public relations, otherwise known as PR. Welcome to Brainwashing 101.
When you think about breakfast, does bacon and eggs come to mind?
Because you believe that bacon and eggs were always considered breakfast food. But the truth is that Edward Bernays was hired by people selling bacon to convince people to buy more of it. So now that you realize that you have been programmed and brainwashed, the next question is, what else have you been programmed to think? How many of your long-held beliefs are not even really your own thoughts? And this is the point where you really need to start asking more questions and learn to embrace critical thinking.
And overcome your own cognitive dissonance.
And how many of you ladies smoke cigarettes? Well, you can thank Edward Bernays for that, and any health issues that may arise as a consequence of your tobacco programming. He convinced women that smoking cigarettes would make them thin, and that smoking tobacco would liberate women by calling them freedom torches. Bernays also worked with the CIA to overthrow legitimately elected democratic governments in South America. Eventually, the same psychological warfare was used on our own citizens. Bernays described the masses as irrational and subject to the herd instinct. He outlined how to use crowd psychology and psychoanalysis to control the public by brainwashing them
and controlling their minds.
Now let's talk about the Freemasons, who are just one of many interconnected secret societies. So let's begin with Albert Pike, who wrote Morals and Dogma, which is still required reading for Freemasons. Listen to him praise Lucifer before your cognitive dissonance shuts your mind off. Lucifer, the son of the morning, is it he who bears the light? Doubt it not. Freemasonry is satanic. Now keep that in mind, before you are tempted to go back to the blue pill. Now do you still have your critical thinking caps on? Good, because you are going to need them for this hard truth. And some people cannot handle the truth. The Declaration of Independence was written anonymous on a capron. The father of the country, George Washington, was a Freemason. The founding fathers were Freemasons. And Ben Franklin, specifically, was a member of the Hellfire Club, which was no different than P. Diddy, and the remains of dead children were found buried under his home. The music for the national anthem was written by a Freemason. The White House was designed by a Freemason. The Pledge of Allegiance was written by a Freemason. The Stars and Stripes flag was designed by a Freemason. Not Betsy Ross. The Statue of Liberty was designed by a Freemason. Have you bothered to notice the Freemason pyramid or money? Need a reminder that Freemasons worship Lucifer at the higher degrees? Well, just look at the pentagram built into Washington, D.C. And yes, the Capitol was also designed by a Freemason. What about baseball? Our national pastime. You can see the square and compass in the layout of the field, and there is esoteric symbolism in the number 3, like the Masonic third degree. And once you turn 18, which is 3 6s, you get to wear a Masonic cap and gown. That funny little hat is a mason's tool. And once you finish college, you get a degree. Now let's talk about who really runs this world, shall we? Where do the politicians get their money to run for president? The banks? And who owns the banks? The Rothschilds and the 13 bloodlines. You do realize that the United States is not even allowed to print its own money, don't you? A foreign bank controls and prints our money. Not us. That foreign bank is called the Federal Reserve. And there is nothing federal about it. It is controlled by people like the Rothschilds. And you say that freedom isn't free. Well, slavery isn't free either, baby. Who did you think we were really fighting all these wars for? Truth, justice, and the American way. Well, let's just ask the Rothschilds and find out, shall we? The Rothschild matriarch once said, "If my sons did not want wars, there would be none." Remember how we were told after 9/11 that we were going to war to find weapons of mass destruction? Did you know that the Twin Towers were symbolic of the two Masonic pillars? Kind of reminds me of the Masonic duality of their black and white tiles. But did you know about the esoteric duality of red and blue? You know, like voting. And voting is supposedly about deciding who gets to make the laws, right? Well, let's see what the Rothschilds have to say about this as well, shall we? Let us control the money of a country, and we care not who makes its laws. But why stop there? Let's take a look at the greatest law of the land, the Constitution. The First Amendment is about freedom of the press. But is it really free? Let's see. Have you ever heard of Operation Mockingbird? Basically, the CIA can control the media, as in television and the film industry, to push propaganda on its own citizens. And guess who owns the media? Basically people like the Rothschilds. And I think there is only like 3 to 5 companies that control the media, including print, film, and television. And it is the same story with corporations on the whole, where companies like BlackRock and others have a piece of everything. So are you starting to get it? You need to see the big picture. They tell you what to think and say via the news. It's all programming, and it is all connected in what is becoming the beast system. There really is no difference between corporations, the media, the banks, and the government. It is an illusion of separation. But what it all boils down to is a small group of elites control everything. And they control you too. So we began this conversation by talking about red and blue pills. But the truth is that politics are just a placebo to pacify you into thinking you matter. You don't. You are just cattle to them, and you are all being herded and controlled. And the worst part is you actually think it is your idea, due to the programming you defend. Some dogs love their leash. And some people love to wear their medical mask like a muzzle. But this is where being able to critically think for yourself is so important. The fight with the world is not something you can win. All of this worldly power in the hands of fewer and fewer people is all leading up to the arrival of the Antichrist. But remember, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but with principalities and wickedness in high places. So let go of the illusion of politics. Let go of the world and free your mind, Neo. Free yourself from the Matrix.